Peter Hakim is President Emeritus and Senior Fellow of the Inter-American Dialogue, a Washington-based think tank on Western Hemispheric affairs. He also teaches at the Center for Latin American and Latino Studies at American University. Let's start with this attack. Pretty amazing. I mean, to watch this. His son putting on a brave face saying that, you know, hey, my father's stronger than ever. But doctors treating him say it could take him 2 months to recover. What does this do to the whole election?
It throws it into greater chaos. The election was, you know, one of the most uncertain that I've ever seen, even in Latin America as a whole, not only Brazil. I mean, there was 5 candidates besides Lula da Silva, the former president, who was leading everybody, but was leading them from jail. And he's not going to be able to run, almost certainly. He keeps trying through one court and another court, but that's unlikely. And Bolsonaro, the man who was attacked so brutally, is now the lead candidate. And
from the hospital.
And he's got 25% of the preferences. And the next leading person has about 12, 13. So it's up for grabs. Situation is very polarized, and there's a lot of ugliness in the whole 3 or 4 of the other candidates are being investigated for corruption or other crimes. This is a very tricky situation for Brazil.
And Lula prepared to hand the baton on, you think, or?
Well, he has to do that. I mean, there's no doubt, just to, if nothing else, to sustain the party. In other words, the party is Brazil's 2nd or 3rd largest party. Doesn't mean much. There are 27 parties, but it's one of the parties that has, you know, a fair congressional representation. And he's got to have a presidential candidate to sort of keep the party together. If not, it's likely to just diminish significantly. And so, yeah, he'll have one. It's going to be his vice president, Haddad, who's also being investigated, by the way. And he's running about 6–8% in the polls when Lula is in. But people think that he might get some of the Lula voters, that Lula can transfer. That remains to be seen. So we just don't really know. There's 4 candidates, I think, that can make it to second, plus Bolsonaro, who's the man who was attacked, the right-winger, who could make it to the... He's almost certain in the second round. And the problem for all the other 4 is, can they make it to the second round, which almost becomes a new election.
You mentioned you have a leading candidate. He's in jail now. It looks like he's gone. The new leading candidate is in the hospital.
Right.
You've got all these people, a cloud of corruption. We had this horrible, tragic fire in Brazil, the museum damaged. So many people outraged. It was in a state of decline for so long. No money spent on that. You've got corruption. You've got Michel Temer. Also, this week they're talking about corruption charges perhaps for him as well. His approval rating's very low. Dilma Rousseff was impeached. If you're a voter in Brazil, what are you feeling right now? What's the morale like?
Well, one indicator of how people feel is that all of the candidates that have a chance of winning this election, let's say 4 or 5 of them, have greater disapproval ratings, negative polling, than positive, including Lula da Silva, the former president, who would lead everybody with about 40%, has 60% of the people who want to keep him in jail. And Bolsonaro has the highest rejection rate as well as the highest pro rate. But the rejection rate is in the 60s and the approval rating is in the 30s. So, and you go down each candidate. In other words, the Brazilians are going to be voting against. It's who they choose to vote against, not who they choose to vote for.
Very interesting. Peter, always a delight talking to you. You always bring such great insights. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.